Welcome to Coffee Break. Thoughtful conversations for a busy world. Let's begin.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is really great to have you here.
Good to be here.
Today we need to talk about a very specific type of quiet desperation. And I call it quiet because, well, usually it's hiding in plain sight. This isn't the desperation of the person who has, lost everything. It isn't the crisis of the person whose life is just completely fallen apart.
No.
It's the desperation of the person who has won.
It's the winner's curse in a psychological sense. I mean, it is the paradox of having everything you were told you were supposed to want, everything you worked for, and yet feeling completely hollow inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are talking to you, the listener, right now. You might be driving a nice car on your way to a job that looks incredibly impressive on LinkedIn.
Yeah, the perfect resume job.
You might be coming home to a house that you worked really, really hard to buy, in the perfect neighborhood with the good schools. And yet you have this gnawing, low-level hum in the back of your brain, maybe in the pit of your stomach, that just says, this isn't it. This feels wrong.
And that hum is dangerous. Because what do? We drown it out with noise.
Oh, absolutely.
Podcasts, emails, busy work, social media, anything to not listen to it. But today, we are turning the volume up on that hum. We are going to actually listen to it.
We are. We are analyzing a stack of insights all centered around this source material called QofeBreak 041, which has a rather aggressive title.
It's a little confrontational.
Yeah, it's titled, You Built a Life You Don't Even Enjoy.
Ouch.
Which is a title that feels like a personal attack.
Ah!
I gotta say, when I first read that, I actually flinched. It felt like someone was, looking through my window.
It's aggressive, but it's accurate for a lot of people and maybe necessary. We are exploring this whole concept of the architecture of alignment versus achievement.
A great way to frame it.
And the mission today is to really figure out how rational, high-functioning, intelligent people like you listening right now, end up building these beautiful, gilded cages out of their own success, and more importantly, how to get out of those cages without, blowing up your entire life.
That's the key. That is the entire key. Because usually when we feel this way, the fantasy is, that's it. I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to move to Bali, and I'm going to weave baskets on the beach.
The great escape fantasy.
Right. But that's not realistic for most of us. We have mortgages. We have kids. We have employees, teams depending on us. So the question isn't, how do I escape my life?
No.
It's, how did I build a life that I now want to escape from?
And that brings us to the core distinction in all this research. We have to separate failure from misalignment. They're two totally different problems.
Okay, break that down.
If you are broke and unemployed, you have a problem of lack. It's a resource problem. But if you are successful and miserable, that's a problem of alignment.
And arguably, the second one is harder to solve.
In many ways, yes. Because you have so much to lose. You are fighting against the weight and momentum of your own success. It's so much easier to justify staying put.
So let's start there. Let's start with the trap itself. The source material talks about the slow build.
Yeah.
And this really, really struck me. It says, we don't wake up one day in the wrong life.
No, it's not a sudden event.
We build it brick by brick. It's not an accident. It's a construction project that we ourselves are the architects of.
Right. It's the slow, quiet accumulation of yes. Think about your career path. Think about it. You didn't sign a contract on day one that said, I hereby agree to be stressed, anxious, and vaguely miserable for the next 20 years.
No one signs that document. I would not have signed that.
Nobody would. Instead, you made a series of small, logical choices. You took the promotion because it paid 15% more. That was logical.
Of course.
You moved to the suburbs for the better school district. Also logical. You took on that extra project to impress the VP because you wanted job security. Logical. Every single step made perfect sense at the time.
But here's the thing, and I want to challenge this a bit, because I think a lot of listeners are going to feel this pushback in their own minds. Aren't those good choices? I mean, if I turn down the raise, I'm an idiot, right? If I don't buy the house in the good school district, I'm not a good parent. So are we saying that being responsible is the trap? Is being an adult the trap?
No, and that's the nuance we have to tease out. It's such a critical point. The choices are individually logical. In a vacuum, taking the raise is absolutely the right move.
Okay.
But they become collectively oppressive if they aren't checked against your internal compass. The source argues that we consistently prioritize external validation and safety over internal resonance.
Internal resonance, I like that term.
We are biologically wired to hoard resources and status. It's evolutionary. Our brains haven't caught up to the modern world, so every time you say yes to more money or more responsibility or a bigger title, your lizard brain, the oldest part of you, gives you a little hit of dopamine.
Right. You're winning.
You're winning the game of survival. You're stockpiling nuts for the winter.
Okay, so we are winning the game of survival. We're crushing the hunter-gatherer simulation in our heads.
Exactly. You've got the biggest cave and the most berries. But here's the problem. We aren't playing a survival game anymore for the most part. We are playing a fulfillment game. And the rules for that game are completely different.
And nobody gave us the new rule book.
Nobody. The slow build is so dangerous because it relies entirely on the momentum of what makes sense on paper. And before you know it, you've built this massive infrastructure, a high-maintenance career, a high-maintenance lifestyle that requires 110% of your energy just to keep it from crumbling.
That brings up the janitor of your own life concept that we touched on in the prep for this.
Yeah.
And I love this image, even though it's deeply depressing.
It is.
You build this mansion of a life, this incredible career, this successful business, but instead of enjoying the beautiful living room or swimming in the pool, you're constantly cleaning the filters, fixing the leaky roof, and mowing the enormous lawn.
You work for your life. Your life doesn't work for you.
Yes, you become its employee.
Precisely. The source calls this success as a trap. We are sold this idea, this great lie of the modern age, that success buys freedom.
If I just make partner, I'll finally have control over my time.
If I can just sell the company for X million, I'll finally be able to relax.
We've all said a version of that to ourselves.
We all have. But usually what success buys is complexity. And complexity demands management. So the more successful you are, the more you become a manager of your own existence rather than an experiencer of it. You become the caretaker of the museum of you.
The caretaker of the museum. That is such a haunting image. You're just walking around, dusting the statues of your own past achievements, making sure they look good for visitors, but you aren't actually living in the building.
And you can't touch anything. It's all behind velvet ropes.
Wow. And think about the slow build again. Because it happens so gradually, we adapt to the increasing pressure. It's the classic boiling frog analogy, isn't it?
It is. The water gets hotter 1 degree at a time, and you don't notice you're being cooked. If you took the you from 10 years ago, let's say 22-year-old you, fresh out of college, full of ideals, and you threw them directly into your current weekly schedule with no preparation.
Oh, they would have a complete meltdown.
Yeah.
A panic attack.
They would collapse. They'd look at your calendar and say, "This is inhuman. Who lives like this?"
Oh, absolutely. 22-year-old me would look at my calendar and just start weeping. No question.
Right. But 40-year-old you just drink another espresso and power through. You call it a busy week. That is hedonic adaptation working against you.
We adapt to the stress.
We adapt. We normalize the misery. We tell ourselves this is just what work is. This is just what being an adult is. Everyone feels this way.
We gaslight ourselves. That is really what it is. We gaslight ourselves into believing that this low-level misery is the price of admission for a successful life.
And we look at the resume, we look at the bank account, and we say to ourselves, I am happy, even when our body is screaming at us, I am so, so tired.
Which brings us to the central framework of this entire deep dive. Achievement versus alignment. This is the diagnostic tool. If you are listening to this right now, you're nodding your head, this is where you need to pay really close attention.
This is the core of it.
How does the source distinguish these two? Because I think in our culture, we use them completely interchangeably. Success is success.
You do, and that's the trap. It's the difference between, say, a binary state and a spectrum. Achievement is binary and it is external. Did you get the title? Yes or no? Is your company's revenue over 10 million? Yes or no? Do you have the award on the shelf? Yes or no?
It's visible. It's measurable.
It is the resume. It is what you tell your relatives at Thanksgiving to prove you're doing okay. It's the stuff that makes your parents proud.
It's the LinkedIn self.
Oh.
It's the carefully curated avatar we present to the world.
Correct. Alignment, on the other hand, is internal, and it's somatic. It's a feeling. You feel it in your body. It's the answer to the question, does this structure fit the occupant?
Does the life fit the person living it?
Yes, it's about resonance. When you are doing the actual work, the minute-to-minute tasks, does it give you energy or does it take it away? When you are living your daily routine, do you feel expansive and creative, or do you feel constricted and drained?
Okay, I want to dig into that energy piece.
Yeah.
Because I think people can confuse hard work with misalignment. I can be aligned with my purpose and still be completely exhausted at the end of the day.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, an elite athlete is exhausted after a game, but they aren't miserable. They aren't depressed. So what's the difference?
That is a crucial, crucial distinction. Thank you for bringing that up. Alignment does not mean easy. It doesn't mean you sit around eating grapes and being fanned with palm fronds all day.
Right.
You can work a 14-hour day and be physically exhausted but feel deeply fulfilled. That's what I call good tired.
Good tired. I like that.
That's the feeling of having used your strengths, your muscles, for something you genuinely care about. That is alignment. Misalignment is bad tired.
Bad tired. I think everyone listening knows that feeling.
Oh yeah, it's the exhaustion of resistance. It's the feeling of dragging a heavy boulder uphill that you don't even care about reaching the top of. It's the fatigue of constant low-grade friction against your own soul.
It's the soul-sucking fatigue.
Yeah.
It's not physical. It's existential. It's when you sleep for 10 hours and you wake up more tired than when you went to bed.
Exactly. Because sleep fixes physical exhaustion, but it doesn't fix alignment exhaustion. No amount of sleep will cure a life that doesn't fit. And the source makes this point so clearly. Building a life and enjoying it are two different skill sets.
Say that again. That's huge.
Building a life and enjoying it are two different skill sets. We assume that if we are good at achievement, if we are good at grinding, strategizing, executing, winning, we will automatically be happy.
It seems like a logical conclusion.
It does. But achievement is the skill of getting things. Alignment is the skill of knowing what things are actually worth getting for you, specifically. They are not the same skill.
That's the arrival fallacy, isn't it? The belief that when I get there, when I get the promotion, when I get the house, when I get the number in the bank, then I will be happy.
Yes. And consider the incredible danger of that fallacy. When you finally get there, when you get the corner office, the big exit, the public accolade, and you aren't happy. What happened?
You panic.
You panic. And you don't blame the system. You don't blame the game you were playing. You blame yourself. You think, I must be broken. I must be defective. Everyone else would kill for this job. What is wrong with me that I'm not happy?
That creates so much shame.
Yeah.
Just a crushing amount of shame. I've talked to entrepreneurs who have exited their companies for millions of dollars. I mean, literally the dream scenario.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, they are depressed, clinically depressed.
I've seen it many times.
And they can't tell anyone. Because who feels sorry for the guy who just made $10 million? You sound like the world's biggest jerk.
It's the ultimate form of isolation. You are, as the source says, homeless in your own life. You have built a palace, but it's a palace designed for a complete stranger. Or, more accurately, it's a palace for a version of you that doesn't exist anymore.
This segues perfectly into the next part, the mechanism of disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we let it get this far? I mean, if I put on a pair of shoes that are too tight, my feet hurt, and I take them off in 5 minutes. I don't walk around in them for a decade until I need foot surgery.
Right?
So why do we wear a career that's too tight for 10 or 15 years?
2 words. Autopilot and momentum.
Autopilot is great for driving on the highway. It's terrible for driving your life.
It is. Our brains are, by their very nature, cognitive misers. They want to conserve energy. That is their primary biological function. So once you establish a routine, I get up at 6, I check email, I go to the firm, I do the work, I come home, I watch TV. The brain stops questioning the routine. It loves routines.
It just executes the program.
It just executes. You enter a kind of trance state. You are performing the role of you, the successful professional, but you aren't actually present for any of it.
I have definitely had weeks, maybe even months, where I look up on a Friday afternoon and I realize I haven't had a single conscious thought about why I'm doing any of this. I'm just executing scripts, answering emails, going to meetings. I'm a robot.
And that's where the identity gap begins to widen. And for me, this is the most profound part of the source material. It says we disconnect because we never stop to ask if the life we built fits who we are now.
Who we are now. That little word, now, is doing so much work in that sentence.
It's everything.
It implies we've changed. And we hate admitting we changed, don't we? It feels like a failure.
We change constantly. We are not static beings. The values you had at 22 are rarely the exact same values you have at 32 or 42. At 22, you might have valued adventure, chaos, risk, and external status. You wanted to prove yourself to the world.
Sure. You want to make your mark.
So you built a life that optimized for those things. You became a travel journalist or high-stakes trader or a litigation attorney. You chose a path of high intensity. But at 35, maybe after having kids or a health scare, you value stability, community, depth, and quiet.
But you're still living in the trader house. You're still showing up to the litigator schedule every day.
Exactly. You are living in the architectural remains of your past self's desires. And it chafes. It feels tight, like those shoes. But, and here's the momentum part, you are good at it now. After a decade, you are a very successful litigator. You make good money. People respect you. The train is moving at 200 miles per hour.
And you can't just jump off a train that's moving that fast. You'll get killed.
No, and you don't even want to. Because that speed, that busyness, it feels like purpose. As long as you are moving fast, you don't have to think about what direction you're actually going in.
Wow. In a weird way, being busy is a defense mechanism against realizing you're lost.
It's the ultimate defense mechanism. If you stop, you have to look around at the scenery, and you might not like what you see. If you just keep running, you can pretend you're going somewhere important.
Speed is a defense mechanism. That hits hard. If I slow down, I have to hear the thoughts I've been running from. So I'll just schedule another meeting. I'll just start another project. I'll just, take on another client. Anything to keep the noise up.
It's the avoidance of the identity gap. Because to admit that this life doesn't fit anymore is to admit a form of death. It's the death of the you who wanted this thing so badly.
Right.
If I spent 10 years of my life and hundreds of thousands of dollars to become a surgeon, and now, 5 years in, I realize I hate being a surgeon, I have to grieve those 15 years. I have to grieve the dream. I have to admit I was wrong. That is painful. That is a genuine loss.
So we choose the chronic low-grade pain of misalignment over the acute sharp pain of grief.
We do, every day.
This is the sunk cost fallacy on an existential level. I've spent so much time, energy, and money building this, I can't possibly leave it now.
It is. We think I've invested too much to change course. But the source reminds us of a very simple, brutal truth. The time is gone anyway. You can't get the 10 years back. The only question that matters is, how do you want to spend the next 10? Do you want to keep paying the sunk cost tax for the rest of your one and only life?
Oof. But let's be real about the pressure here. It's not just an internal battle of sunk costs. It's part 4, the pressure to persist. We live in a society. We have families. We have colleagues. We have expectations. People are watching us.
The golden handcuffs, that's what they call it. The salary is so good you can't imagine leaving.
It's more than just the money, though. I think it's the gratitude trap. I feel like this is a huge blocker for people, maybe the biggest one.
Explain what you mean by that.
You look at your life. You've got healthy kids, a roof over your head, money in the bank, a stable job when other people are getting laid off, and you feel like an absolute brat for even thinking about wanting fulfillment. You feel spoiled and ungrateful.
We weaponize gratitude against ourselves. It's a perversion of a beautiful concept. We say, at least I'm not starving, at least I have a job. There are people with real problems in the world.
Right. First world problems.
And yes, of course, perspective is important. But using "it could be worse" is not a strategy for a thriving life. That's a strategy for survival. The source argues that feeling tired or disconnected or unfulfilled isn't a moral failing. It's not a character flaw. It's data.
It's a check engine light.
It is a check engine light.
Okay.
Exactly. If your car's check engine light comes on, you don't yell at it and say, "You ungrateful car, you should be happy you have tires. You should be happy you have gas in the tank." No, you don't.
You check the engine.
Yeah.
You acknowledge there's a mechanical issue that needs attention. But when our own internal light comes on, anxiety, dread, boredom, fatigue, we just put a piece of black tape over it and say, I should be more grateful.
Or we drink a bottle of wine. Or we doom scroll on our phones for 3 hours. Or we buy something on Amazon. We do anything to numb the signal instead of listening to it. And that works for a while. It really does. Until it doesn't. Until the engine finally blows up on the side of the highway.
And that's burnout. That's the midlife crisis. That's the affair. That's the health scare.
That's the breakdown. The source is trying to get us to perform preventative maintenance, to listen to the signal before the explosion.
So let's talk about the fear of failure. Because I think deep down, that's what's under all this gratitude stuff. If I admit I'm unhappy in my successful life, it feels like I failed at the ultimate goal, which is being happy. It means I did it all wrong. It means I'm defective.
That is the binary trap of achievement thinking again. Success or failure, win or lose. But the source offers this beautiful, compassionate reframe. It says, this feeling didn't happen because you failed. It happened because you grew.
I want to repeat that because I think people need to hear it again. It happened because you grew.
The lobster shell analogy is perfect here. I love this. A lobster is a soft, mushy animal that lives inside a hard, rigid shell. That rigid shell, that's your job title, your career structure, your public identity.
The architecture.
The architecture. Now, the lobster inside keeps growing, but the shell doesn't. Eventually, the shell becomes confining. It gets tight, uncomfortable, and painful. The lobster is under immense pressure.
Okay.
So what does it have to do? It has to go hide under a rock where it's safe, and it has to shed the old shell. It becomes vulnerable for a little while, and then it grows a new, bigger one that fits.
So the discomfort, the pain, isn't a sign that the lobster is sick or failing. It's a sign the lobster is getting bigger.
Exactly. The shell wasn't a mistake. It protected the lobster for a season. It did its job perfectly. But now it's too small. Your career, your role, your current life structure, that is the shell. It served you. It got you here. It gave you the skills and the security and the money you have now. It's not a mistake to be discarded.
It's a stage to be transcended.
Precisely. So shedding the shell isn't an admission of failure. It's a biological necessity of growth. If you don't shed it, what happens? You either die from the pressure or you just stop growing. You remain a small lobster in a tight shell for the rest of your life.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem in excruciating detail. We are lobsters in tight shells. We are successful but misaligned. We are running on autopilot. Now, what in the world do we do?
$1 billion question.
Because this is where people get completely stuck. They feel the pain, they understand the problem, but they think the only solution is to burn the entire house down. That's it. I'm quitting my job, I'm divorcing my spouse, I'm buying a motorcycle, and I'm moving to Patagonia.
The Jerry Maguire fantasy,
Yeah.
the dramatic, cinematic exit, yelling, "Who's coming with me?" as you storm out of the office with a goldfish.
Right. And the source explicitly, repeatedly warns against this. Why?
Yeah.
Why is that such a bad idea?
Because radical impulsive destruction usually just leads to regret. If you blow up your entire life overnight, you trade the problem of misalignment for the problem of chaos. And chaos is incredibly stressful.
More stressful, probably.
Way more stressful. You might feel free and exhilarated for a week, and then you feel sheer panic. You realize you still need money. You realize you actually miss some of your colleagues. You realize the new life has its own set of problems. The source advocates for renovation, not demolition.
Small, realistic ways to reconnect. That's the quote.
That's the whole game. We need to talk about concepts like job crafting and life crafting. This is part 5. The solution? And the very first step before you do anything is simply awareness. You have to stop the autopilot. You have to interrupt the pattern, even for an hour.
How do we practically do that? Because be more aware is easy to say, but it's incredibly hard to do when you have 400 unread emails and your kid has a soccer game.
You need an audit, a literal pen and paper audit. The source suggests looking at your daily structure. I recommend something I call the energy audit. It's very simple.
Okay, I'm listening.
You take your calendar from last week, print it out. Go through every single meeting, every task, every project, every interaction, and you mark them with a plus sign if they gave you energy, a minus sign if they drained you, and a 0 if they were just neutral.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. What if I do that and it's all minuses? Just a sea of red ink.
Then you have a severe alignment problem, and it is better to know that than to live in denial. But usually it's a mix. And the goal is not to get to 100% pluses. That's a fantasy. That's not realistic.
Work is still work.
Right. There will always be taxes and admin and boring meetings. The goal is to consciously shift the ratio. If you are currently at 90% drain, can we get it to 70%? If it's 70, can we get it to 60? It's about progress, not perfection.
So step 1 is awareness via the audit. Step 2 is assessment, looking at the data you've collected. And step 3 is adjustment. Use some concrete examples. Let's say I'm a VP of marketing. I do the audit and it's 80% minuses. I hate my job, but I can't just quit. I have a mortgage and 2 kids in private school. What is a realistic adjustment for me?
Okay, great example. Let's look at your audit. You say you hate the job, but that's too general. You probably don't hate the entire job. You hate specific parts of it.
That's there.
Maybe your audit shows you absolutely hate the quarterly budgeting meetings, but you love the creative campaign strategy sessions. Maybe you hate the personnel management, the hiring and the firing, but you love the one-on-one mentoring and coaching of your star players.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
A realistic adjustment is asking, can you delegate the first draft of the budget to your finance-savvy project manager? Can you hire an operations person to handle the spreadsheets you despise? Can you restructure your week so all the drain tasks, all the minuses are batched together on Monday morning so you get them over with and you have 4 days of better flow?
Could you negotiate a no-meeting Wednesday with your boss so you can actually do the deep creative work that gives you energy?
Exactly. It's about reclaiming agency over the how, even if the what of your job title stays the same for now.
This is about controlling the controllables.
Yes. The source calls this making conscious choices. Even if you change nothing else about your job description, but you decide to change your own boundaries. I no longer check email after 6 p.m. I am taking a full hour for lunch away from my desk. You have shifted the architecture. You have put a new window in the wall of your prison cell. You can breathe again.
I really like the idea of boundaries as a form of architecture. A wall is a boundary. A door is a boundary. If your life feels like a giant, noisy, open-plan office where everyone can interrupt you at any time, maybe the first step is to build some walls, put a lock on the door.
Exactly. And sometimes the adjustment needs to happen outside of work entirely. If your job is what it is, it pays the bills, it's stable, but it doesn't feed your soul, maybe you need to stop trying to force it to feed your soul. That puts way too much pressure on a job.
So accept the job for what it is.
And use the money and stability it provides to fund a real passion outside of work. This is the idea of the portfolio life.
Okay.
Maybe your job is just the patron of your art. You are a corporate lawyer from 9 to 5, and that's okay, because that allows you to be a dedicated woodworker from 6 to 9. And that is alignment, too. You don't have to monetize your passion. You don't have to start an Etsy shop for your woodworking. You just have to make space for it in your life's architecture.
That takes so much pressure off the career to be the everything, or one source of identity.
It does. We expect our careers to give us money, status, community, purpose, spiritual fulfillment, and fun. It's insane. That is way too much weight for one job title to carry. No job in human history can do all of that. So you have to distribute the weight across your portfolio.
So the solution is much more nuanced and gentle than we think. It's not about a revolution. It's about a series of small, targeted renovations. It's about looking for the marginal gains in happiness.
A 10% shift in your daily routine can lead to a 100% shift in how you feel about your life over time. It's the difference between feeling like a prisoner of your circumstances and an active participant in your life.
It's agency.
It's total agency. As soon as you make one conscious choice, I'm choosing to take a real lunch break today. I am choosing to decline this pointless meeting. I am choosing to drive a different, more scenic route to work. You prove to your brain that you are in the driver's seat again. The victim mindset begins to dissolve. You are no longer the janitor of the mansion. You are the architect, deciding where to put the next window.
And that leads us to the final and I think most powerful challenge the source poses. And I want to leave the listener with this because it's a bit haunting. It really, really stuck with me.
Yeah, it's a big one.
The source asks you to stop and check if your life fits who you are now.
It's the ghost question.
The ghost question. If you don't stop and ask that question regularly, who are you building for?
You are building for a ghost. You are spending your finite, precious life energy maintaining a shrine to a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. You are working for your past self, not your present or future self.
And that is the real tragedy. Not failure, but successful, dedicated service to the wrong thing.
To a memory.
Don't build a palace for a ghost. I think if there's one thing to take away from this, that's it.
It is. It really is.
So here is your mission for everyone listening, should you choose to accept it. Do the energy audit. It might be scary, but do it. Look at your last week. Find the drain. Find the sources of energy, too. And then just make one small move. Just one.
Start small.
Cancel one meeting. Delegate one task you hate. Close the laptop at 5 o'clock tonight, no exceptions. Do something. Anything that signals to yourself, I am here, I am listening, and I matter more than the machine I've built.
Reclaim the architecture, one brick at a time.
Thanks for diving deep with us. This is not easy work, but it might be the only work that really matters. We'll see you next time.
Take care of yourselves.
Thanks for spending this time with us on Coffee Break. If this conversation stayed with you, you can find more episodes here on the channel. Until next time, take care.